Brian is innocent. Brian has been essentially convicted in the media. He has a right to have this information withheld, brought out in public so that people can see it's not this neat little package. So people can start to wonder if Brian's innocent. Your Honor, Brian is innocent. So if I talk about things that are in the affidavit, and if I talk about things that we're seeking that the state wants to hide, I think that's fair game for the public to hear.
Listen up, the ashes stir, phoenix wings unfurl, seeking truth beneath the blur. Turnings for the lax that meet the blur. Out the flames I rise, wings scorched but unbroken. Truth the blaze I wield, every rhyme's a token. In the nest we move, hearts stumping unison. Searching for the light where the system cuts our wisdom. Built on lies and steel, they boxed us in cages. Now we break the locks, rewrite history's pages. Innocent until proven guilty, that's the oath we recite. Under this constitution we ignite the night. We rise like a phoenix in sync, we claim the street. Nest seekers united, our freedom can't be beat. Stand up when one falls, yeah we got your back. In a free land unbroken, we launch the righteous attack. Justice for the voiceless, break the chains of deceit. Innocent till proven guilty, our victory is complete. System cracked at the seams, built for just a few. We rip apart the scheme, bring the truth into view. Movement swells like thunder, souls fueled by conviction. Phoenix souls aligned, demanding our new vision. Marching on the courthouse, banners paint the sky. Echoes of freedom roar, watch the old guard comply. No more hidden verdicts, no more secrets sold. Every voice is a weapon, every story be told. Innocent till proven guilty, that's our final decree. Under this constitution we stand forever free. Phoenix in the dawn, truth ignites the sky. Together we stand tall, no more asking why.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Happy Saturday afternoon. I got some things done and I thought, you know what? Let's get the show on the road. I've withheld some documents. I want to go ahead and make some content in regards to those documents. And I am bringing you the best one to date I've seen yet. Now, I know we've tried to have a little light humor here and there, and I think it's good. I think it's healthy. And I just want to welcome all of you in this afternoon or this evening, whatever it is you're doing. I'm so thankful that you are here. So, you know, if you've ever watched my lives before, drop a 1. I think I like my lives better than any of the videos. But if you just posted a 1, I really want to thank you because there are a lot of OGs in the house. And, you know, I think we're at this point in this case with the Idaho 4 that we've been discussing that it's pretty much apparent that there's something behind the scenes going on. There's something more behind the scenes. And when I believed that Brian Kohberger was factually innocent, Ann Taylor, I feel, did a fabulous job in everything she could against the system, against a machine that has already predetermined what your outcome and what your fate will be. Not only because I've been through it, I know people have been through it, and I see people go through it. And it's kind of like what I said last night on the live. It's kind of like they give you the ending of the movie at the beginning of the movie. I don't know what it's exactly called, but I really, really want to just say that it's okay if you're confused. It is totally okay. No one is perfect, and we see a lot of propaganda. We see a lot of narrative planning, and it's one of those things that it keeps us up at night because it messes with our psyche. And this ISP document that the Idaho State Police detectives went out and interviewed a 21-year-old male in Boise, and they labeled him as suspect 1. That yes, folks, they labeled him as suspect 1. And I want to show you what document I'm talking about. And if you don't know about our fabulous website, here we go. Justice for All. One of my mods will drop that link. And this document is one of those documents that you have to shake your head and say, what the heck? Let's get into it. Document supplement ISP 0116. 0116. Someone drop it in the chat for me. When you start to look at this, you think, oh my God. Suspect number 1 on December 1st, 2022, 29 days before Brian was arrested. 29 days, folks. They were going hard finding the unalivers, the alleged suspects that committed this homicide. And let me tell you, well, let's read it. So a tip comes into the ISP. They log it in as tip 5013. And two detectives go out, Detective Adams Jr. and Detective T. Barrett, and another detective, Sergeant T. Hopkins. It took 3 people to go out to this individual's residence in Boise. And kind of goes like this. He gave a voluntary DNA sample, but they went out there to talk about his recent purchase of a Kbar knife. Yes, this person bought a Kbar knife. So he starts out by saying the knife was purchased, but had not been delivered to the blank's home yet. Okay, so here we have this young kid bought a knife. It's getting mailed to his residence, but these 3 detectives come and knock on his door. Knock, knock, knock. Okay? And initially, he didn't come to the door. But we knew blank was home because we watched him walk in his door, and the neighbor across the walkway told us they observed him out an upstairs window while we were knocking. Okay? Okay, this is like out of a movie. Ultimately, blank answered the door and asked in a very low sounding voice who we were. We called him by his first name, and he told him we needed to talk with him. He asked what we wanted to talk about. I told him we were law enforcement and asked if he was looking at us through the peephole in the door. I can't make this shit up. Okay. He told me who he was and I showed him my ISP issued badge along with through the peephole. And instantly his voice changed to a higher pitched voice and unlocked the door and invited us in. Okay. We went to the living room of his apartment. He was the only person in the apartment. Initially, he did not admit to ordering a Kbar knife. So he lies to him straight off the bat. Not good. Not good. When asked what kind of things he ordered recently, he told us he ordered a ski mask. Did he lose one? Why would he need a ski mask? Anyways, I observed his order information on his Amazon account. Blank voluntarily provided me his phone and allowed me to look at his account. Remember, 3 detectives are going out to his door, ready to inquire because he's been named a suspect. Okay? Then he says he purchased not only a ski mask, but he purchased commercial grade cleaning gloves. This was the Asian gentleman. Yes. Yes. I asked if he had an email address, and if so, did he receive email confirmations on orders? We'd been given the information regarding an email used to confirm the purchase of the Kbar knife. Okay. 4. I asked if I could look at his email to see if he had a confirmation email and what his email was. He provided me a different email address than the ones used to purchase the Kbar knife. Strike number 2. Okay. He voluntarily gave me his phone, allowed me to look at his emails. While doing that, I clicked on his email account icon and I noticed another email address, including the email address used to confirm purchase of the Kbar. That email address was highly redacted. Okay. 5. As I began to look at his email inbox, blank stuttered and then said, "I know why you're here." At this point, I think this guy's going to give a full-blown confession, right? I mean, what would you think in the chat if you heard this guy that just got caught lying twice, got a different email address? Now he says, "I know why you're here." What would you think? So then he goes and the sergeant asks, "Tell us why we're here." Blank told us because he ordered 2 knives. Not 1, 2. 2. I bet they're ready to grab their weapons, right? Blank admitted he purchased 2 knives from Kbar. This was consistent with the tip we received and the confirmation email I found in Blank's emails. So if you remember what I said earlier on my live today, this was one of the individuals that so-and-so gave their names and they went because it was the tip that he was buying knives. If you're following along and you're watching every live that I do that is consecutive to the next one, and it all links and flows together. So 6, we asked him why he ordered those knives. He told us it was because he did not have a gun and ordered them for protection. Okay, so you don't have 1 gun, but you need 2 knives, right? Remember what I said is about you don't bring a knife to a gun club or a knife. You don't bring a knife to a gunfight. So he says that he didn't feel like he was in any imminent danger. This guy lives in Boise, guys. He lives in Boise. After talking a bit on his own, he asked if we would like to do a room inspection or something. So now he's asking, "You want to go check out my room, guys?" We told him we would like to if it was okay with him. He agreed, and Sergeant Hopkins and Detective Barrett searched Blank's room while we talked with him. Now, guys, he offered. They weren't there to search. Okay? I'm not an expert. This is not professional advice, but in my humble opinion is that if this was me, I would not ask them to come and invite and search anything in my home because I'm not a suspect and they don't have a warrant to search. Okay? If they found something, then he would be in a lot of deep hot water, whether it was nothing related to this case or it was something else. I'm just saying. And he's already got his phone. What if he had something on his phone he shouldn't have had? And bam, there you go. We're hauling you down to the police station. Okay, end of rant. 7. While talking with Blank, I asked why he chose that particular knife. He told me he saw on the news the killer had used a Kbar knife and he wanted to match it. What? He wanted to match it, but didn't buy just 1, he bought 2? Like, that's a little overkill. I didn't want to use that word, but no pun intended. After talking it through, Blank said he would have a gun instead if he knew how to buy one. Okay, he knows how to buy a knife, but he doesn't know how to buy a gun. All right. Blank appeared to realize it sounded unrealistic for him to buy a knife to match the killer if they were never to get into a fight. Yeah. People buy guns for protection, people, not knives. Knives are for hunting, not to defend yourself, in my humble opinion. Now, 8. Blank told us he did not know any of the victims of the murders that occurred. Blank voluntarily provided a DNA sample, and I seized the DNA swabs and placed them in a paper envelope. Nothing to note other than the ski mask and commercial grade cleaning gloves were found in the apartment. Nothing else was seized other than the DNA sample. So that was a seizure. They didn't have a warrant to go in there and get his DNA sample, but he complied and he gave them the DNA sample. They took the DNA sample back to the Moscow Police Department, where it was booked by Moscow police under the DNA sample, yada, yada, yada. Now, with that being said, I find this highly sus that ISP didn't back up any of their DNA samples. And I have a feeling they handed everything over to Moscow in regards to the 1122 King Road also. Allegedly. This is all totally 100% hypothetical here. As you know, I just put my disclaimer on because I'm done reading what the document says, gave my own humble opinion. And one thing that really shocks me is that if that was the case, then Moscow Police Department had a ton of DNA that was ultimately, allegedly, maybe compromised per MPD reports. I think we can all agree to that. I think we can agree that some of the DNA, blood swabs, whatever was in those evidence fridges, could have possibly been compromised, I would say. And why didn't they process it? I don't know, but this was labeled suspect 1. And there were other suspects in this case, folks. They were hot on people's trail. They wanted to, in fact, find the people who did this horrible crime. And somehow in between, they found somebody who was factually innocent to take the fall. And then pleads guilty. What was going on behind the scenes? Did Moscow know that they were never going to be able to announce who did this publicly? I mean, I'm thinking about how they were going to come out in front of the public and unravel this whole mystery, this whole lie. See, because you can't charge 2 people with the same crimes. How would they be able to get around that law code in Idaho how would they be able to do it? Because you can't charge somebody with the same crime. Any ideas? Would they have to, I don't know, per se, charge them with other crimes like possession, attempted escape from jail, distribution? I mean, could they charge them with those kind of crimes and not charge them with murder? Probably, yeah. I mean, they're trying to convince us that one individual did this. Somebody who had no connection, no stalking, no blood DNA, because mind you, at least one of the suspect was injured during this process. At least one. One person left blood contact DNA. Unknown who that male is. And like I said before, folks, Most of this DNA will never be in the system unless you're looking at convicted felons. People who have been charged with crimes, arrested, DNA's in the system. You don't know if these unidentified male and females have ever had any run-ins with the law. And if they're young kids that have never been in trouble, they're just going to have to wait till they do something to get themselves in trouble, to get their DNA, if they're not using any of these ancestry third-party sites. But if you think about it, some of these individuals eventually, maybe 10, 20, 30 years, will do some crime and get caught. And then will Bryan Kohberger be exonerated at the age of 50, 60? Is that what the goal and the plan is? Because I see a pattern here, folks. And all those people who took plea deals and were factually innocent, 1 in 5, they get to be of age, and now they've caught the people who really did it through DNA. I mean, DNA could be used for you or against you. Just saying. Don't you think there should be some type of, I would, in my humble opinion, some type of database that law enforcement could legally use in a case like this, but not overstep our constitutional rights? I mean, I've seen plenty of people in these reports volunteer their DNA because they know they weren't there. They know they're innocent. But then you see people who are protecting their DNA, and you don't know if they're guilty or if it's just something that they want to protect their DNA. It's so random. Yeah, Lucy, I wish they would have tested the unknown DNA just to rule it out. But see, even if they tested it, they don't know who it belongs to if this individual is not in any database or genealogy database, or maybe not even tested at the hospital as a baby. You know, some people do births at home. They're not registered by any hospital. That is a good point. Yeah, September Virgo, I agree. With all the news that's coming out, you think that there would be some process of law that states, oh, well, we made a mistake and we charged you and we forced you into a plea deal. They don't want to be able to be sued. They would lose a lot of money. All the individuals that come back and say it's a business, they have to justify their return on investment. They don't want to lose anything. Think about all the innocent people that they charge that would come back and sue them. Think about all the court cases that would be backed up for years. Think about the bottleneck of cases that would have to go back to court if there was some found of allegations of corruption. Think about that. It would be crazy. In a speedy trial for death penalty, it's not a short process. It has to be a long process. It has to be. So here's something that I found, and I thought about this the other day, and I thought, what if Bryan Kohberger, and this is all hypothetical speculation right now, because that's what we do. That's what I do to kind of make sense of this in my mind logically. So what if Bryan Kohberger was sent there to work at the WSU lab, doing what he was doing what he loved? He was probably really good at it, okay? And let's say they pulled him in at WSU because there was maybe something specific that he studied that they needed help with. And if you've not seen his work, I read through all his reports and his research this morning, and I came across one document, and I'm going to pull that document real quick. It's 114. Let me grab it. Where am I at? Here it is. 114. And in this document, I thought it was so interesting. And where I'm going next with this. So in this document, we see in 0114, two detectives go out and they go to WSU. And this was 1/11/2023 after Koberger was arrested. They go and they interview a 45-year-old white female, which is important. Okay? This isn't just some little frat or sorority or old professor. This is someone in academia that is seen a lot. Okay? And yes, her name is out there, but I'm not going to say it. So they sit down and they interview her and they ask these questions that make sense. And did you know that the assistant attorney general was there in the interview? The assistant attorney general of Washington State was there. Now, this is pretty interesting. Yeah, that's crazy that he predicted it. Yeah, we talked about it the other night when I got all the documents. We were on a 2-hour live. Yeah, he pretty much predicted it. So, in the interview with Miss So-and-so, it was recorded with her knowledge and permission. Sitting in the interview was Mr. Adam Malcolm, the Assistant Attorney General of the Attorney General's Office of Washington State. Miss Blank told us that Brian Koberger had been selected. He was selected, guys, for a criminal justice program by a panel, like a panel of people that go and they look at everybody's applications and they narrow it down to 3 and then they interview and then they say, okay. Yeah, this is pretty like, I went to an interview like that. I had to interview with 5 people. Typically, it takes a whole week to interview with this company I worked with. I went through the whole interview process in less than 5 hours. And I got offered the job on the way home from the interview. So to be selected for something like this by a panel of people, they all had to agree, not just based on what he did, his grades. It was what his future was going to do, his future. So they sit down and then she explains to them that she did not sit on this panel. She did not sit on his selection panel, but she was assigned as Koberger's blank for his doctoral program, his PhD. His assignment as a program training assistant was through blank, 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 and redacted blank heavily. Okay. Mrs. Blank said that she only had one interaction with Koberger as redacted because beginning in late August 22, she began receiving complaints from Koberger from students and staff members in the criminal justice program. And I wonder how many of the other people from his program didn't get selected for that position. Do you think that there was a little animosity or jealousy among the people that, why was he picked? I could hear it, guys, in the back of my head. Why was he picked? He's creepy. He's weird. He's maybe autistic. He's different. He's awkward. He's not socially kosher. I can hear it. I don't know about you guys, but I can hear it. Kind of like what the media's done to him. So, she goes on to say in 5, because of these complaints, Mrs. Blank spent a lot of time, she thought at least once a week, speaking about Koberger during different disciplinary meetings. The meetings focused around Koberger's interaction with fellow postgraduate students in and outside the classroom, along with this behavior around some of the criminal justice professors, which obviously They clashed, they butted heads. Old, liberal, new, conservative, integrity, schedule, no routines. So I can see that knowing autism. I can totally see that. And there was no let's meet in the middle because no one knew how to work with him. Obviously, it's very clear. So Mrs. Blank said that Koberger appeared to be socially awkward, but then she told us in her experience, a lot of academics are socially awkward. Oh my God, she got it. She got it, guys. Were they doing an experiment within his program? That's what I was thinking. Were they doing some type of program background on autism? It came across my mind. I thought about it. But logic pulled me back and made me think about why they selected him. She goes on to say, however, the various complaints were about Koberger, spoke to other staff and students, his stating of outspoken discriminatory comments, which were homophobic, ableist, xenophobic, and misogynistic in nature. Now, I can understand someone from the West clashing with somebody from the East Coast, and it would probably be a culture shock, right? I'm just saying. Because of his beliefs, I could see it. Conservative, old-fashioned guy with autism, has integrity and honesty and whatever. He would also stare at people and stand uncomfortably close or lean over women, making them uncomfortable. He didn't have any boundaries. He didn't have any physical boundaries. I explained this happens in Japan too. And it's odd that he had a Japanese book in his collection, because there, if you've ever seen a Japanese movie in they film on the street, they all walk really huddled close together and they're looking at their feet, because if you make eye contact with anybody, you bump into people. And that's just the way it is. But there's no bubble of personal space. And I had to explain this to my own children when I was little. I still have to explain it to my son. Hey, there's a personal bubble. You don't have to come within so much feet, and you don't have to scream. I can hear you quite well. Okay. All right. And so she goes on to say, and this is the key last bit of information she gives us. Because remember, the Attorney General is there of Washington. Mrs. Blank brought Koberger to her office to speak with him about the complaints and attempted to get him to correct his behavior. Koberger's response to this was his deflection of personal responsibility, saying that his comments had been misunderstood, etc. Okay, in my humble opinion, dealing with autistic adults, I could see that happening. I could see this happening. And here's the kicker. Koberger indicated to Mrs. Blank he hoped to continue in the program and his desire to remain in the field of academia. He did tell Mrs. Blank that he wished to work under Blank. Blank told us that Blank's field of expertise, get this, is in sex offenses and decision-making processes of offenders. Mic drop. Now, if you go and look at all his documents, this is exactly what he was studying. Can we all agree on that? So what exactly is this academia that he was studying? Anybody? Yes, he was blunt, no filter. I agree. But think about what was just said about him. Think about what he was studying specifically. Then we'll get to the matter at hand of what was going on in Washington. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the landscape of Washington, but there had been a history and rumors of serial attacks in the area against females. And what was his study on the whole survey that led back to DeSales? Female sex offenders, attacks, stabbings. And I started digging into how many in that area made the news, because most of the universities will keep this quiet. They will keep it quiet, sweep it under the rug. And do you remember in the documents? I do. In the documents that I went through with specifically Moscow Police Department, they pulled records for U of I for someone who was sexually assaulted. Now think about this. They believed, allegedly, someone in that house was sexually assaulted, perhaps in October of 2022. Moscow requested the reports from the university. They had to go and investigate. And lo and behold, what happens when Anne went and asked for all this information so that she could help Brian in his defense? Does anybody remember what happened that I said last week on a live? Oh, there was tons of more reports. There were tons of reports. I mean, these are just some samples that I pulled up. And then there was this guy, a professor. I believe he was a professor or some employee, a staff or something, that they were saying that WSU was not liable for the rape. And this was just in 2024. There was a slew, guys, a slew of reports. And then I got to an old, simple forum where people were talking about this in 2008. This started 2007, 2008, about all these attacks that were happening on campus. And no one did anything about it. And guess what? Remember the document I showed you a couple of weeks ago in the emails about the girl who claimed that the police were doing this too? Well, it wasn't just WSU. It was a bunch of other people too. This has been going on in this area for a while. And then you had the Pullman 4 that I shared with you. And then lo and behold, what happens? We see Anne request all this information to help support Brian in his defense. And guess what? They give Anne the ability to go in and look at all the files, look at anything she wants, but she can't use anything. She can't share anything. She can't talk about anything. They put a restraining order, a protection order on the university. And that's what happened. So if Brian was brought in to do a job to find out what was going on in this area and heard about possibly another assault of a student? What if he went and tried to figure it out on his own without any authority? The individuals that perhaps allegedly may have hired him threw him under the bus because he was an outsider. He was awkward. He was creepy. Guys, they had to have known he did not do this. They had to have known. But they had him take the fall. Hence, his books, what he was studying. You know, we laughed and we giggled the other night because we needed that. But when I thought about it, you know, in the moment, I was thinking they don't have nothing on Brian. They don't have anything on him. But yet they made it up. In my humble opinion, allegedly, they made this up. And I apologize for laughing at some of these pictures. But you know what? I wasn't laughing at Brian. I was actually laughing at the people in charge making us try to believe in this shit. Trying to make us believe that Brian did this. And I started looking in these pictures closer and closer and closer until I thought I saw on the wall what looks like BB guns. Little BB gun pellets all over the wall. And I thought to myself, you know, why were they keeping this picture and showing us this vent? It was actually what's in the wall. It's what's in the wall or on the wall or around the wall or what was going on inside this house. I mean, we may never really know. They're going to continue to cover it up. They're not going to tell us. We're peons to them. They're the elite. They're in charge. Well, in my humble opinion, someone needs to knock them down a peg or two. If you're that corrupt in the area, you need to be put out of office. You need to be fired. You need to be let go. When did you become corrupt? Should you keep your pensions? Should you be awarded anything for that type of behavior? Because in this pictures of Brian's, I don't see anything wrong with how he lived or who he was and what he studied. And that's my own humble opinion. First right, amendment right in America. No one else is going to stand up for him, but we can. And if he's an undercover Fed or he's an undercover cop or he's an undercover anything, they still publicly humiliated this guy. And that's just not right. Because you know what, at the end of the day, suspect 1, 2, 3, and 4 are still out there on the streets. Still out there on the streets. No one in the media, you're right, Gypsy. No one in the media has said a word. No one. But you can. You definitely can. You can go to the website, Justice for All. You can send email to whoever you want. There's a mock email up here for, let me just throw this up here. There's a mock email up here for the DOJ. There's a petition. There's the Autism Innocent Project. You can actually go there right from this website. You can write them a letter. Say, hey, this guy needs help because autism in the criminal justice system is not fair. It's not fair. And he's more likely not to commit a crime. And they know the courts don't understand autism. These professionals and these lawyers know. They know. They're not going to do anything about it until the people do something about it. So I'll get off my soapbox for today. And I'll just say, these documents, well, they're a bunch of bullshit. It's about as good as the PCA to wipe your butt with them. Like Sammy T. Mafia says. She says something different, but I'll say it politically correct. But his parents have to reach out to him and have to agree to have somebody help him. That offer stands. I do have an attorney in Utah that's looking at this. The Innocent Project is looking at this. I just hope that somebody reaches out, or someone has reached out, and we see an appeal or PCR hit the repository. I don't know how much longer people are going to keep talking about this. I think they're going to hope that it just fades away. I don't think so. You are so welcome, guys. But I've got more documents to cover, and we will definitely share those. So, as always, you guys be well.
No more hidden verdicts, no more secrets sold. Every voice is a weapon, every story be told. Innocent till proven guilty, that's our final decree. Under this constitution we stand forever free. Phoenix in the dawn, truth ignites the sky. Together we stand tall, no more asking why.